Hi, Jason Sulliman here. I wanted to share some insight on how I practice legato and how I work legato with my students. So I'm a trombonist, which means I have to incorporate a bit of a coordination between what I'm doing with my tongue and my legato articulation and what I'm doing with my slide. Most brass instruments that are valved can get away with just pushing down the valves, and there's a natural legato sound that kind of happens when you essentially try to slur those notes together. Trombonists can take advantage of that sometimes when there are, for example, two different notes that are on different shelves or partials in the overtone series. For example, F to G. I don't need to tongue those notes and I can get a reasonably smooth sound, but there are times where if I have to play two notes that are on the same partial within the overtone series, I have no choice. It's going to come out like a glissando. I'm going to have to use some kind of tongue-assisted legato. And so it's something I definitely want to work on as a trombonist. So here's something that I do. I'm going to set on a little metronome. I'm going to put it on 100 beats a minute, and this is my random beats missing. You can find more about that if you look up some of my videos on timing or go to my website. I'm also going to be using my wobble board. I'm going to be standing on that. And again, I've got information up there about why that's so helpful. But what I want to do is take a simple rhythm. I'm going to take 8 16th notes, 1 half note, and 2 whole notes. And I'm just going to play it on one pitch for now, all right? I'm just going to work the tongue. Now, I want to take the same exact rhythm, but I'm going to alternate between 2 different notes. In this case, I'm going to go down a minor second. I'm going to go from F down to E. But first I'm going to do it just with the slide. So now I've isolated just working the tongue, just working the slide, and now I'm going to put the 2 together. And then I'll take that pattern and go all over the instrument. Now, one of the reasons why I like to use that particular pattern is that it starts with a quick succession of faster notes. And then there are a couple of longer, slower notes. Human beings, for whatever reason, when we learn how to coordinate different movements that require multiple limbs or multiple muscles, we tend to learn these movements proportionally. And what happens when we have longer notes, we tend to take longer to do the articulation. Now that's problematic for brass players in particular, because that means that every time we have a whole note or a half note, something that's really long, we tend to have a bit of a clunky, less coordinated tongue. It's not the same quick kind of articulation, unless we train ourselves up. And all professional musicians have developed the ability to have a nice, quick, efficient tonguing, even for legato on long notes. So if I start with the fast notes, just doing the tongue, then I hear that fast notes and I feel that those fast notes, and then from there I employ it through the longer notes. The longer note needs to be articulated the same way. Now, in a similar manner, when I'm using the slide, if I have longer, slower notes, I tend to take my time with the slide. A lot of times half steps get a little gooey with trombonists. When there's extra time. So by starting with a faster pattern, you can employ the same technique that you're using to make it happen in the fast for those slower notes. And then the last thing I do is I put it all together to coordinate it at the same time. So let's just go down the slide a little bit. I'll start with concert F, going down half steps. First I'll do just the articulation, then I'll do just the slide, then I'll put them together. So now I'm going to go E down to E flat. I do that the whole length of the instrument. All the way up, all the way down. Now obviously you can add a level of challenge if the interval between the two notes is greater. So if you're doing whole steps or minor thirds, major thirds, what have you. There are going to be times where you're going to have two notes that might sit in the same position but be on a different shelf. And you could employ just a lip slur, absolutely, but we also want to work up the ability to do the tongue assisted legato even in that context. So start with this exercise, pick a tempo that works for you, and just work up and down the range of your instrument. First playing just the tongue, second playing just the slide, and then third coordinating them together. I hope that's helpful for you. If you'd like more tips on how to practice and ways to get better, please visit www.jasonsulliman.com or subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.